in the golden sands of Egypt, where the mighty Nile carved a green ribbon through endless desert, an ancient people built a civilization that would outlast empires. Here, the gods were never far away. They were not distant, invisible forces. To the Egyptians, they were present in the warmth of the sun, the flood of the river, the blowing of the desert wind, and the order of the stars. They were life itself, and death. They were order and chaos. They walked alongside kings and peasants alike, guiding, protecting, and sometimes punishing. Let us step into this sacred world and meet the gods, to understand not just their stories, but what they truly represented. We begin with Ra, the great sun god, the giver of life. Every morning, as the first golden light touched the temples and fields, Egyptians believed Ra was rising from the horizon in his solar bark, sailing across the sky. But his work was never done. When night came, Ra descended into the underworld, sailing through darkness and danger. There, he faced the great serpent, Apophis, the embodiment of chaos, who sought to devour him and end the cycle of life forever. Yet Ra prevailed each night, bringing dawn once more. To the Egyptians, Ra was not simply light. He was the measure of time, the force that kept the universe in motion. Without Ra, crops would fail, rivers would dry, and life would wither away. If Ra represented the living world, Osiris represented the life that came after. Once a wise and just king on earth, Osiris was betrayed by his jealous brother, Set, who murdered him and scattered his body across Egypt. But through love and magic, his wife, Isis, restored him, and Osiris rose again, not to rule the living, but to reign over the realm of the dead. For the Egyptians, this story was more than myth. It was the promise that death was not the end, but a gateway to another life. Osiris became the eternal judge of the dead, the one who ensured that justice would prevail and that the righteous would live forever in peace. At Osiris's side stood Isis, one of the most beloved and powerful goddesses. She was the wife who would not give up, the mother who would protect her child at all costs, and the magician whose knowledge of spells was unmatched. When Osiris was killed, it was Isis who searched the length and breadth of Egypt to gather his scattered remains. It was she who breathed life back into him, and it was she who protected her son, Horus, hiding him away from the wrath of Set until he was strong enough to claim his birthright. Isis represented devotion, healing, and the unseen magic that holds the world together, the kind of strength that is quiet but unbreakable. Her son, Horus, was the falcon-headed god of the sky and kingship. From the moment he could stand, Horus was destined to confront Set, the murderer of his father. In their battles, the fate of Egypt itself was decided. When Horus finally triumphed, he became the divine protector of the pharaohs. Every ruler of Egypt was seen as the living Horus, chosen to keep the land safe and uphold the order of the gods. Horus's right eye was said to be the sun, his left the moon, and when one was damaged in battle, it became a symbol of healing. The famous Eye of Horus, a charm still worn for protection to this day. But the journey from life to death and beyond required guidance. That role belonged to Anubis, the jackal-headed god. Anubis was the guardian of the dead, the one who led souls into the afterlife. In the hole of truth, he weighed the heart of each person against the feather of Maat, at the feather of truth. If the heart was pure, the soul would pass into eternal bliss. If it was heavy with wrongdoing, it would be devoured by a monstrous beast, ending the soul's existence forever. Anubis represented justice, moral purity, and the careful passage between this world and the next. The Egyptians also loved Bastet, the cat goddess. gentle as a domestic cat, yet fierce as a lioness. Bastet was the protector of homes, families, and the innocent. She brought music, joy, and fertility. Yet when danger threatened Egypt, she transformed into a warrior to defend her people. Cats were sacred to her, and harming one was considered a crime against the gods. Bastet symbolized the delicate balance between tenderness and strength, between peace and ferocity. But no pantheon is complete without a force of chaos. In Egypt, that force was Set, the god of storms, the desert, and disorder. He was cunning, unpredictable, and destructive. Set murdered Osiris, battled Horus, and brought the scorching winds and sandstorms that could devastate crops. Yet the Egyptians also understood that Set had his place. Without the challenge of chaos, order could not exist. Even in the myths, there were moments when Set defended Egypt, such as when he stood beside Ra to fight the Serpent of Darkness. Over all these gods and stories floated an idea, not a god of war or love, but of balance. Maat, the goddess of truth, harmony, and cosmic order. She was the embodiment of justice, the principle that kept the world from falling into chaos. Her feather was the ultimate measure of a soul's worth. Pharaohs swore to rule according to Maat's principles, for if they failed, they risked not just the throne, but the stability of the entire universe. The gods of Egypt were more than characters in myths. They were woven into daily life, in the offerings left in temples, in the prayers whispered at dawn, in the festivals that filled the streets with music and color. They explained the rising of the sun, the flooding of the Nile, the coming of storms, and the journey after death. To the Egyptians, honoring the gods was not just worship, it was survival. Even now, thousands of years later, their statues still stand, their names still spoken, and their symbols still worn. They speak to something universal, our search for meaning, our struggle between order and chaos, life and death, light and darkness. Though their temples are silent and their priests long gone, the gods of Egypt remain alive. In history, in art, and in the stories that refuse to fade. Which god calls to you? Is it the light of Ra, the justice of Osiris, the protection of Bastet, or perhaps the truth of Maat?